This story starts as Winston is being interviewed for New York Channel 11 Morning News. The city is enamored with his story, a normal everyday Joe needing work, responding to a want ad, and a little more than a week later he became a full-fledged Ghostbuster, helping to save the city from Bel Air 6 months ago. Since then he and the rest of the Ghostbusters have busted 13 ghosts with only a minor amount of property damage. As the interview draws to a close, Winston asks if he can send a shout out to Megan and Kenny, his niece and nephew. The scene changes to Ray catching up with his nephew Jake at a diner in the city, as Winston's interview plays on the TV that hangs in a corner above the register. They check in on each other and things are pretty upbeat, even when Jake tells his uncle that his dad hasn't talked to him since coming out. But the bright side is that his mom has been in contact and is trying very hard to be supportive. Jake then asks his Uncle Ray for advice about leaving school to take a very well-paying job as an assistant to the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Walter Peck. The big selling point for Jake is it could potentially lead to his dream job. Ray gives him the best advice a good uncle could.
If you think it will make you happy to quit college and make big bucks working for this Peck fella, then go for it. If it doesn't work out, you can always become a Ghostbuster.
Meanwhile, at the Ghostbusters Firehouse HQ, Egon is testing out some new ghost-busting inventions in the form of baseball-sized metal orbs while talking to his mother on the phone. It's your basic back and forth between a supremely loving mother and her preoccupied adult son. He evades her silly and at times invading questions like it's a dance he's done before. He says yes, they are still looking for a secretary, and yes, Linda's daughter can apply. He begins to get lost in what he's working on, and he gives his mom one-word answers until something she says stops him dead in his tracks. He asks her to repeat herself, and she tells him again that she found one of his old childhood gizmos as it fell out of his closet blinking. Egon drops the phone. As he picks it up, he gets a text from Venkman. He apologizes to his mom, but he's gotta go to work. He tells her he loves her and promises to call back soon. Venkman is talking to this gorgeous blonde while they are waiting in line for coffee at one of Manhattan's high-end Starbucks, when suddenly a burster runs screaming from the building's refrigerated stockroom. She is in such a panic it's hard to make out what she is saying. Over the commotion, Venkman understands one key sentence.
I just saw a ghost.
Turning to the blonde, Venkman tells her she's lovely and that he wants to see her again, but duty calls. He proceeds to tell everybody to get out while he texts the other Ghostbusters. Once they get there, Venkman is on the floor, and as the rest of the Ghostbusters walk up to him, Venkman says,
"He slimed me."
After a few restless nights, Megan and Kenny's mom take them to see their uncle and the Ghostbusters. The kids claim the boogeyman has been terrorizing them. Responses range from Venkman laughing it off in disbelief. Meanwhile, Ray and Winston reassure the children that they will find a way to help. Egon, however, keeps his thoughts and fears to himself. An inspection of Megan and Kenny's room coming up inconclusive. It's either a figment of their imaginations, or the PK meter isn't equipped to pick up the boogeyman's particular supernatural signature. To fully put the kids' minds at ease, they spend the night at the firehouse with the Ghostbusters at the ready. The sun rises on everyone's disappointment as they come up empty. Megan and Kenny ask their mom if they can tag along while she does some overnight work at the museum because they're still a little scared to sleep at home alone. She says yes, thinking nothing of it. That night at the museum sleepover, the kids place their sleeping bags and backpacks in a broom closet on the second floor of the museum. As per the ritual, any small dwelling that houses children's belongings becomes a child's closet, and thus, the boogeyman has access to it, with no one there to stop him. Boogie's plan comes to pass without a hitch. He can now attain that which he's long desired, the Underturkey, which the museum currently houses. It's an artifact of immense power, believed to be created by Hephaestus himself. The curse that gives Boogie his powers dictates that Boogie's portals only open to children's closets at night. The Underturkey will allow them to open no matter the time of day, so he can feed on the fear of children longer and without restraint. Because of certain promises made, promises of the hauntings coming to an end, the kids played their part in his plan. Played it well. But these are kids not yet 10 years old. How were they to know that Boogie would pull a fast one on them, not only taking the key back to his domain, but them as well? Once he has the key, the Boogeyman begins a reign of terror on the world's children, starting with New York City, just to rub it in Egon's and Winston's noses. The days all blur together. Upset and frightened parents keep calling, but the Ghostbusters can't keep up with all the calls. They really need a secretary. Every time they get to where they are needed, children have already been scared half to death and the Boogeyman is already gone. Their luck changes when they respond to a call from the New York City adoption house, which is only a few blocks away from the firehouse. It's during this showdown that Egon's past with Boogie and the abducting of Winston's niece and nephew come to light. Between Egon's fear and Winston's rage, they fail in capturing Boogie. Empty-handed, with the city's faith in them severely lacking, they retreat to the firehouse to collect themselves. The whole way there, Egon and Winston face a crisis of confidence. However, all is not lost. During the battle, Ray managed to get some readings on Boogie and the Underture key using the PK meter. And thanks to those readings, Egon has the specific input he needs to not only track the Boogeyman's supernatural signature, but he can use that input to reformat their old equipment and the new orbs he's been working on to capture and contain the Boogeyman. The Ghostbusters formulate a plan to enter Boogie's domain, free the kids, take back the key, and capture Boogie as well. They gather their gear and head to Mrs. Spengler's home on Long Island. On the way, Ray and Egon explain the new invention to Winston and Venkman. They're called enthrallment orbs, designed to be rolled across the floor, and then they'll do the rest of the work by gravitating towards their supernatural signature preset. Once they are in range, they launch tiny sheets no bigger than a band-aid that expand and wrap around the source of the supernatural. As soon as they arrive, they send Egon's mom to her neighbor Linda's house. Now able to pick up Boogie's supernatural signature, the PK finds an intense amount of activity in Egon's childhood room, coming specifically from the closet. Venkman questions if this plan is going to work. Egon insists it will, as he is, after all, someone's child, and this is his closet. He opens the door and puts his childhood gizmo back on the shelf. Lo and behold, it works, just not in a way Egon could have anticipated. A portal does open, but all that emerges from it is Boogie's gross pale hand motioning for them to come inside. From the second their feet touch down in the Boogeyman's realm, he begins taunting each of the Ghostbusters with their long-forgotten childhood fears. Venkman sees his long-dead father on his deathbed, expressing his disappointment and disapproval of Peter's lack of focus and how he will end up. Winston envisions himself running, being chased by the neighborhood hellhound while he's trying to deliver newspapers. Ray sees himself as he was, in his old high school gym, an overweight boy being bullied by a mean group of kids. Egon stands still clutching the neutrino wand that connects to his proton pack, without any vision of some long-forgotten childhood fear, because it's there, across the room from him. And he's staring it down like a boxer ready for the next round. If Boogie is going to get to him, then he's going to have to go the extra mile, and Boogie knows it. So he takes a different path to rattle Egon, by putting all the blame, all the torment each child has suffered since he retrieved the key, as if it is Egon's fault. Seemingly enraged, Egon begins to fire wildly at Boogie, missing him with every shot. He throws a ghost trap wildly, and as it slides across the floor between Boogie's legs, Boogie shouts that it was a big swing and a miss.
That's where you're wrong, Boogie. It wasn't baseball I was playing. It was chess.
Minutes ago, Egon spotted Megan and Kenny hanging from a low ledge chained together. They are dangling bound by the wrists with a ghostly apparition guarding them. Once he steps on the trap button, the ghost guard is officially not a problem. Boogie quips about not being able to find good help these days. Egon uses the base of the neutrino wand to free the kids from their chains. They fall to the floor free, but they're okay and happy to be out of Boogie's clutches. Egon instructs the kids to wake the rest of the Ghostbusters, while he handles Boogie. Megan and Kenny run to their uncle, trying the best they can to pull him out of the trance Boogie has him in, begging him to snap out of it. It's not until Megan takes a tone she's heard her mother take with her that Winston wakes up, falls to his knees and says,
You sound just like your mother.
The kids embrace their uncle, and together they go wake the others. By the time they've rounded up Peter and Ray, Boogie has Egon cornered. As he goes in for the killing blow, Kenny shouts to Boogie.
Looks to me like you're running low on power.
The kid's not wrong, so Boogie turns and sets his sights on Kenny. He's so focused on making a meal out of Kenny's fear that Boogie doesn't even bother to ask why the kid is standing in the dark alone. Boogie walks slowly, brandishing claws, teeth, and drooling to the floor, expecting it will instill some fear. It does, just barely. Before Boogie realizes what's going on, Bankman is right next to him talking his ear off about kids today. With one arm around Boogie's shoulder and a hand picking the pocket on Boogie's oversized blazer, Bankman runs into the darkness shouting,
Now, I got it.
Boogie's eyes follow Venkman into a darkened corner of his lair. The darkness fights against the light of the Ghostbusters equipment. Before he knows it, Boogie gets the shock of his immortal life, courtesy of 4 proton streams formatted to his supernatural signature. Thanks to all of the excess energy he's absorbed, Boogie is just a little too strong and he escapes through one of the many doors his domain gives him access to. The Ghostbusters and kids give chase, following the boogeyman through door after door, closet after kid's closet, finally arriving at Megan and Kenny's room. In a moment of desperation, Ray shouts,
I'm taking the shot.
The room is a touch too small and Ray doesn't ensnare his target so much as he blasts Boogie through the kid's window and onto the city street at 9 p.m. Winston tells the kids to run to a safe distance and Boogie lashes out against his enemies, especially Egon, throwing cars and energy blasts of black magic. Thankfully, the cars miss their intended target and just lead to property damage. Those energy blasts miss as well, smacking up against a brick wall full of graffiti. Betting that Boogie is almost out of juice, Egon tells the others to blast Boogie on his mark. Bankman yells,
It's almost bedtime, Boogie. Sweet dreams.
As the countdown begins, Boogie laughs it off, swearing it didn't work before and it won't work now. That is when, from a safe distance, Megan and Kenny each roll to handfuls of enthrallment orbs. Egon throws out an upgraded trap, and a news crew arrives just in time to broadcast Boogie shrieking in frustration as he is pulled down into the trap. As for city blocks of New Yorkers cheer in celebration, Egon's hairs begin to stand on end, not out of the amazing adulation. That sound Boogie made. Egon could swear he's heard it before, a name he's read about in Tobin's Spirit Guide.